Weezer. This is the newest album from the band Weezer, and this was originally supposed to come out about a year ago, I think in May of 2020. Obviously, we know why it didn't come out now. This is their second studio album this year after the surprisingly very good OK Human that came out earlier this year. And with this album, we had a bunch of singles that were preceding this. I don't think I heard all of them before the album, but I remember hearing I Need Some of That like a month or so before this album actually came out. And then also Hero a year ago. I wasn't really looking forward to it that much, but after how good OK Human was, I was actually very much looking forward to this new album by them. And to those people who thought that Weezer was going to continue in the direction that OK Human did and continue with that sort of style of music, no, that's definitely not the case here. They are back to the basics for Weezer, back to what we normally are accustomed to hearing from them. I don't want to compare it too much to OK Human because I do think that this should stand out on its own and it should just be reviewed and talked about just as an album by itself. But it's kind of hard not to compare it because they came out the same year, just within a few months. And I just wanted to say that this is definitely a step down from that album in terms of quality, especially with the writing on this album. Even though OK Human definitely did have some moments that were a little bit cheesy, with this album, it's like nearly every song there are like some lyrics that kind of made me cringe at times. Not all of them were like that, but there was definitely too many moments to count that had some lyrics that could have been written better, could have had more time taken. But having said that, there were a decent amount of songs on this thing that I found to be pretty good and pretty catchy. The opening track, Hero, which like I said was released about a year before this album came out, and on its initial release, I just found it to be kind of okay. I was aware that it was sort of a tribute to all of the essential, I think it's called the essential workers, because that was the COVID-19 thing was still pretty fresh at the time. And so I was aware that it was a tribute, but musically I kind of found it to be a little bit underwhelming. However, after hearing it several times on the radio and then listening to it again today when I listened to the album, I actually think it's one of the stronger tracks on this album. The guitar riffs on the song are very punchy, very tight. Really throughout the entire album, they're like that. And I do think that the lyrics on this song are some of the best to come out of this album, even though the delivery of them are a little bit cheesy at times. I like the chorus, I like the bridge leading up to the chorus, the way it builds up to it. I like the synth in this song, kind of gives it a new wave feel. I also just find it funny how he says, yeah, I walk alone, and it just reminds me of the song What's My Age Again by Blink-182. How everyone thinks that he says I walk alone, but he said I work alone. It kind of reminded me of that. The second track, All the Good Ones, immediately reminded me of Beverly Hills, which is not a good thing. I don't actually hate that song like a lot of people do. A lot of people will call that like their worst song ever, or like the beginning of the end for Weezer. I don't hate it that much, but I'm definitely not going to pretend like I like it. And the song as a whole just kind of felt too familiar, kind of like they were recycling a bunch of their other songs. It just felt like a big amalgamation of a bunch of different Weezer songs from the past. Let me just read some of these lyrics for you because I found them to be kind of interesting. She was thirsty, I was hungry for a start, with somebody who wouldn't break my heart, like the last one. But this one, she plays for all the marbles. Like, I don't know if he's trying to be metaphorical there or whatever, but just a really bizarre choice of words, I think. The end of the game kind of had some nice guitar fills at the start. Kind of reminded me of a Van Halen type of sound. But the rest of the track was kind of forgettable. I Need Some of That, that was an okay track. Kind of reminded me of The Cars a little bit. Beginning of the end, I kind of like how the song was a little bit quiet at the start, and then it built up to the sounds that this entire album pretty much has track by track. Also, another moment that kind of sounded like a Van Halen tribute. I don't know if that was intentional, if they were trying to do that, but if that's the case, that's pretty cool, I guess. Blue Dream. Dude, okay, I don't know if, like, they're trying to troll everyone or anything, but this is literally the song Crazy Train. I mean, other than, I guess, the melody of the singing, I mean, it's pretty much the same guitar part, all the same drum fills, the bass line. I mean, it's like they're copying Crazy Train. I don't know, like it wasn't a bad song. I do like the song Crazy Train, but it's just like it's that same exact song. I just don't know how to feel about it. It was kind of like confusing. One more hit. This was a big highlight off the album for me. I kind of liked how it started off with a pretty heavy sound, which I thought was really cool, and then transition this makes into the chorus, which is a more kind of power pop sound, something that we're very accustomed to hearing from Weezer. But then it also kind of transitions again back to that heavy sound, and it was really cool kind of how it was transitioning from these different sounds. And if there's anything I can say about this album, it's that it has very good transitions, and the different sounds they experiment with, granted it's not that many different sounds, but they are all fused pretty well. But again, with some of these lyrics here, let me just read them. Pump it up into me, please daddy, pump it up into me. Skipping ahead, I thought that the last two tracks were both pretty solid. She Needs Me had a pretty cool, somewhat punk influence, definitely more on the pop punk side, but still, I heard some of that punk influence in it for sure. The chorus is kind of dumb in this one, but I mean, it's very catchy, I'm not gonna lie. And then the last song, Precious Metal Girl, was one of my favorites on the entire album. It was a nice little acoustic number and had some really good harmonies in it, and it was the only song that really didn't change its sound. Like, because there were several songs that would start off a certain way, and I thought like, okay, they're gonna go for something different here. But then it just go back to that same rock power pop sound that we know Weezer for, and it was kind of a letdown. But this was nice because it just stayed in its own lane and didn't ever cross over with the power pop sound. So as a whole, Van Weezer, like I said, definitely a step down from OK Human, but it had a decent amount of good songs on it, some that were not so good, some that are definitely better than others. I think that the writing definitely could have been a lot better on this thing. The instrumentals could have been a little bit more diverse, even though overall they're definitely not bad. If you're like a big Weezer fan, then I'm sure you'll probably like this. Just a casual Weezer fan like me, you'll probably just think it's okay, and that's pretty much how I feel. It was just a okay, alright record for me. I'm gonna give Van Weezer a C+. So what do you guys think of this album? How do you think it compares to OK Human? Do you think that they should have put this out before OK Human? Because another thing that I've heard is that they were working on this like before OK Human, before the pandemic and everything, but then they just kind of set that aside and then did OK Human during the pandemic, which kind of reminds me how the Beatles were doing Let It Be, but then they put that aside, did Abbey Road, and then finished Let It Be. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But yeah, if you heard it, let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite tracks or least favorite tracks are. And that's all I got. Thanks for watching, everyone. Peace out.